The sky above the battlefield was black with smoke. Burned ships lay broken across the red sand. Bodies, both human and alien, were scattered like toys thrown in anger. The war between the Galactic Union and the Kolgar Empire had turned peaceful. Planets into graveyards, Rian sat alone beside a shattered wall. His white medic coat was no longer clean. It was torn, stained with blood, dust, and old pain. His left arm was wrapped in a rough bandage, and his tools were scattered around him. His bag, once full of medical supplies, was nearly empty now. He was not a fighter. He had never carried a weapon. He was a medic, a healer. He had trained to save lives, not take them. But in war, even healers bleed. Rian had stayed behind to help the last injured soldiers. The Union had called a retreat, but he couldn't leave while men screamed for help. He had worked through the night, stitching wounds, stopping bleeding, giving hope where there was none. And then the Kolgar arrived. They didn't shoot him. A human without a weapon? They laughed. One of the officers, wearing silver armor with red markings, looked at Rian like he was nothing more than dirt. A soft one, the officer said. A waste of chains. But let's see what he does in the pit. The pit, as Rian learned later, was not a regular prison. The Kolgar guards dragged him through the halls of their base-sharp metal walls. Glowing lights and eyes filled with cruelty. No one spoke to him. They shoved him, pushed him, insulted him in their own language. But Rian didn't fight back. He just walked, tired and silent. Finally, they reached a heavy black door with thick locks. "Put him in there," a tall guard said. "Let's see how long he lasts." The door opened with a loud hiss. A wave of heat hit Rian's face. It smelled like smoke, blood, and something wild. Inside the room, there was a massive creature. It was curled in the far corner, chained by its limbs, breathing slowly. Its body was covered in dark, cracked scales. Its eyes glowed like molten fire. Its chest rose and fell with heavy pain. One wing was torn, and black liquid oozed from deep cuts. It was a dragon, but not like in old human stories. This one was real, ancient, and clearly dangerous. Rian froze. His heart beat fast, but his face stayed calm. The guards pushed him inside and slammed the door shut behind him. The room went silent except for the sound of the creature's breathing. Rian took a step forward. The creature opened one glowing eye. It growled. Rian raised both hands slowly. "I'm not here to hurt you," he said gently. "I'm a medic. I help those who are hurt." Of course the creature didn't answer. It only stared. Its muscles were tense, but its breathing was labored. Pain, infection, blood loss. Rian saw the signs. He had seen them too many times on battlefields. He glanced around. No supplies, no tools. Only the rags in his pocket, a piece of metal from his belt, and the knowledge in his mind. "I don't know if you understand me," he sighed, kneeling slowly. "But if I don't clean those wounds, you'll die. And I don't want that." The dragon let out a low, rumbling sound. Not a roar. Not a threat. Something else. A sound filled with tiredness and pain. Rian moved closer, carefully. Step by step, he tore his sleeve and made a strip of cloth. He dipped it in water from a small leak on the ceiling. Then he placed it on one of the open wounds. The dragon flinched. "I know," Rian whispered. "It stings, but it'll help." He worked, slowly, cleaning each wound as gently as he could. He used the sharp piece of metal to remove a bit of rotted skin. He pressed down on a swollen joint to ease pressure. The dragon didn't attack. Hours passed. At one point, Rian leaned against the wall and sighed. His hands were shaking. He hadn't eaten since morning. But the dragon's breathing had changed. Slower, calmer. The bleeding had stopped. The infection wasn't spreading now. Rian looked into its eyes. "You're not a monster," he said quietly. "You're just hurt." The dragon closed its eyes. Rian smiled. When Rian woke up, The cell was dim and quiet. The only light came from the cracks in the wall where a dull blue glow seeped through. His body ached. His back was sore from sleeping on cold metal. But he was alive, and so was the creature. Dragon was still in the corner, its massive head resting on its front legs. It didn't move when Rian sat up. Its eyes were closed, and its breathing was slow, steady. The bleeding had stopped. The swelling in its limbs was going down. Rian quietly stood up and stretched. He looked at the dragon carefully. The wounds he had cleaned the day before were not perfect, but they weren't getting worse. That was a good sign. Infection hadn't won yet. He walked slowly toward it again, his steps light, making sure not to startle the creature. One of its golden eyes opened and watched him. No growl, no threat. Rian gave a small nod. "You remember me," he said. Softly, "That's good." He knelt beside one of the back legs and gently touched the bandage he had made from his torn sleeve. It was soaked through and needed replacing. He had nothing clean left, but his own shirt could still be used. He tore another piece off and began rewrapping the wound. The dragon made a low sound, like a sigh. "I know," Rian whispered. "I'm not exactly gentle, but I'm trying." He worked without fear. His hands were steady. He had done this 1,000 times before, but never on something this big. Still, bones were bones, flesh was flesh. Pain was pain. That part never changed. As he worked, he spoke. It was a habit he had picked up over the years. Soldiers who were scared felt better when someone talked. Even if the words didn't matter, the voice helped. "My name is Rian. I'm from Earth. You probably don't know where that is. It's far from here. We have forests, oceans, quiet places. I liked helping people. I used to run a clinic in a small town before the war started." He glanced up. The dragon's eye was still watching him, blinking slowly. "I didn't want to join the army," he continued. "But when people started dying, I couldn't sit and do nothing. So I became a medic, not to fight, just to save." He finished tying the cloth and leaned back, wiping sweat from his forehead. "You're healing," he said. "That's more than they expected, I think." There was a small camera in the corner of the room, hidden behind a black glass lens. Rian had noticed it yesterday, but he didn't care. Let them watch. Let them see a human helping the creature they feared most. Somewhere behind that camera, guards were probably watching the feed. They had expected screams, a quick death, maybe, even a show. But they had gotten silence. Calm, healing. They were confused and afraid. The dragon lifted its head. For the first time, it moved without a groan of pain. It stretched one claw forward and tapped the floor, then again. 3 times. Tap. Tap. Rian frowned. Was that a signal? He stepped closer. "You trying to talk?" The dragon paused, then used its claw to scratch something on the floor. Lines, circles. It was slow, clumsy. But it was drawing. Rian crouched beside it. He tilted his head. The shape was strange, but familiar. A star. Then 2 moons. Then a planet. Then a single mark. "That's not random," he muttered. "Is that ... your home?" The dragon's eye blinked once. Rian sat back in surprise. "You understand me?" The creature slowly nodded. It was a small movement, but powerful. Rian stared, heart racing. All this time, the Kolgar had treated the dragon like an animal. A monster, a tool for war. But it wasn't mindless. It wasn't wild. It was intelligent. "You're not just a weapon," Rian whispered. "You think, you feel." The dragon scratched more symbols into the floor. They were harder to understand, but Rian recognized a few repeating shapes. Fire, chains, eyes, and something that looked like a crown. Memories, maybe. Pieces of the past. "You were captured," Rian guessed. "Forced to fight, just like many of us." The dragon lowered its head again, closing both eyes. For a moment, it looked ... tired. Not from wounds, But from years of pain, Rian reached out and gently placed his hand on the creature's thick, scaled neck. The skin under his fingers was warm and rough like old stone. "I won't hurt you," he said. "No matter what happens, I'm not your enemy." From the ceiling speaker, a Kolgr voice crackled through. It spoke in a sharp alien tone, angry and confused. Then the camera lens clicked. They were watching. And now they were worried. Rian stood and faced the camera. "I don't know what you thought would happen," he said aloud. "But if you were hoping for death, you'll be disappointed. I came here to heal. And I'll do it even if your monster becomes my patient." Behind him, the dragon's tail thumped the ground once solid, strong alive. For the next 2 days, Rian and the dragon remained locked in the same cell. No guard came, no food was given. Only silence filled the dark chamber, broken now and then by the sound of chains clinking or the dragon shifting its large body. Rian didn't complain. He had survived worse. Hunger and thirst were nothing new during war. What mattered to him was that the creature Zurak, as he now called it in his mind, was improving. The wounds were closing. The swelling was nearly gone. The infection had stopped spreading. Rian sat near the dragon's front leg, wrapping the last visible cut. "There," he said quietly, tying the cloth. "That's the last one. You heal faster than any species." "I've seen." Zerak let out a low sound, not angry, not sad. It was somewhere in between, like a rumble of old memories. The golden eyes blinked slowly, and Rian saw something deep inside them, loss maybe. Or guilt. He placed a hand gently on the dragon's shoulder. "You don't have to be afraid of me. I don't see a monster. I see someone who's been hurt for too long." Zerak turned its head slightly, watching him. Then it began scratching the floor again with its claw. More symbols. Rian knelt beside them, reading what he could. This time the drawing was different. A tall creature with wide wings stood before smaller figures with weapons. Then a cage. Then fire. It was a story. A memory. "You were taken," Rian guessed. "Your people, your kind were attacked. You were captured and used. They locked you up and made you fight." The dragon dipped its head once, a clear yes. Rian sat down thinking, how many others like you are still alive? Zerak scratched a single circle. Only one. Rian felt a cold feeling in his chest. This creature was the last of its kind. Then, "We have to make sure you survive," he said. Zerak blinked again, slow and calm. That night, Rian leaned against the wall while the dragon rested near him. He spoke softly, not expecting a reply, but knowing the beast understood. "You know, back on Earth, we had legends of dragons, big, flying creatures with sharp teeth and fiery breath. People feared them, but some stories said they were wise. Guardians, even. I used to read those books as a boy." He smiled faintly. "Funny how I ended up meeting a real one. And you're not what they say you're more." Zerak opened one eye and let out a soft grunt. A strange peace had grown between them. What began as fear had turned into something different, something stronger. Trust. Far above the cell, in the command room of the Kolgr base, the guards watched the screen with unease. A large alien officer, General Sarn, stared at the footage. His face was covered in sharp markings, and his silver armor glowed with rank. "Still alive," he muttered. "Not only alive, but communicating." A smaller officer beside him clicked a report open. "The dragon no longer resists the human. It lets him touch it, tend to it," Sarn growled. "That thing has destroyed entire fleets, torn apart battle cruisers. It was supposed to kill him. He is just a medic." Sarn turned sharply. "He's not just anything. Humans are dangerous because they don't only fight with weapons. They fight with ideas, compassion, that is harder to crush." The officers fell silent. Sarn stepped closer to the screen. "What happens," he asked coldly, "if the beast bonds with him?" Back in the cell, Rian woke to a low humming sound. Gerak was standing now, tail gently swaying, eyes glowing brighter than before. "You're stronger today," Rian said, standing slowly. The dragon didn't growl. It walked to the far wall where the metal had cracked from earlier movement. With one strike of its heavy claw, it dug into the wall and peeled away a large piece. Sparks flew. Behind the wall was another chamber, smaller and dark. Rian stepped closer, cautious. "What is this?" Gerak entered the small space and scratched symbols on the walls fast, urgent ones. Rian followed and used the light from the small glowing. Rock to read, symbols again, stars, chains, a mark shaped like a broken crown. Then one that looked like Gerak but with wings stretched wide, and something glowing at its chest. "What is this?" Rian whispered. "Power? Memory?" The dragon looked at him and then pressed a claw to its chest, right where the glowing mark was drawn. Rian realized it then. "You're remembering who you were." Gerak growled softly and nodded. Rian stepped back. "They feared your strength, so they broke your mind. But now, you're coming back." The dragon let out a slow, steady breath. The chains still on its limbs glowed with warning lights, but they were weaker now. His body was healing. His will was returning. Rian touched the wall gently. "You were more than a weapon. You were something powerful, something noble." Gerak turned, eyes locked on him. The connection between them was no longer just about survival. It was something more. And deep in the shadows, Rian made a quiet promise. "I'll help you remember who you are." The air inside the hidden chamber was thick and old, untouched for many years. Rian stood still, watching Gerak scratch more symbols on the walls. The images were becoming clearer, now less broken, more complete. He saw drawings of other creatures like Gerak, flying through skies filled with light. There were no chains in those pictures. No pain, just freedom. "You were rulers," Rian whispered. "Guardians of something ancient." Gerak stepped back, showing the final symbol, a circle with many lines around it, like light. In the center was a star. Then next to it, another shape, smaller, simple, like a human. "You protected the stars," Rian said. "And then, you protected us?" Gerak slowly nodded. Rian's mind was spinning. The Kolgar didn't just capture a wild beast. They had stolen a protector. They had broken him, locked him up, and used him as a weapon. And now that protector was waking up again. Rian looked at the dragon's face. "Do you remember your name?" Gerak scratched it into the ground with his claw. 3 symbols, curved and sharp. Rian studied them. He couldn't say it exactly, but in his heart, he whispered the name as best as he could. "Gerak." The dragon lowered his head and breathed out softly. A calm wind passed through the chamber, brushing Rian's hair. He smiled. "We'll get out of here, Gerak, together." Up above, General Sarn stood at the command table, eyes narrowed. More guards had gathered, watching the video feed. They had all seen it now. The drawings, the communication, the understanding. "This is no longer just a prisoner," Sarn said. "This is a threat." An officer beside him asked carefully, "Shall we destroy them both?" Sarn didn't answer at first. He stared at the image of the human medic sitting beside the dragon, both looking at the same wall of symbols. "No," he said at last, "not yet. Let the other commanders see. Let them understand what humans are." He pointed at the screen. "Look at that. A creature we couldn't control. A beast that burned cities. But the human didn't fight it. He healed it, he spoke to it, and now it listens to him." Sarn clenched his jaw. "That's why humans are dangerous." Back in the cell, Rian and Gerak were now working together. The dragon had found a weak spot in one of the walls. It wasn't large, but enough for a claw to break through over time. Gerak struck the metal again and again, each hit shaking the ground. Sparks lit the darkness. Rian searched the room for anything useful. He found small metal pieces and wires from a broken vent in the corner. From them, he began building a small Device simple, but enough to create a short signal burst. Maybe, if they got close to the outside wall, he could reach someone who still believed in peace. "You're not the only one who's been changed by war," he said quietly while twisting wires. "I've seen people turn cold, forget who they were. But I can't let that happen to me." Gerak growled softly, like agreement. "You were made for something bigger than this cage," Rian said. "And maybe I was too." Suddenly, the speaker on the ceiling crackled. A voice sharp and cold spoke in the Kolgar language. Rian didn't understand every word, but he heard enough to feel the warning. Gerak raised his head, ears twitching. Then the lights in the cell changed. Red glow filled the room. A hiss came from the walls. Gas. "They're flooding the cell," Rian said, covering his mouth. "They're trying to kill us." Gerak roared and slammed his body against the wall again. One chain snapped, then another. The ground trembled as the dragon's power returned. The gas filled the room faster now. Rian coughed, eyes burning. Gerak swung his tail and shattered a panel on the wall. Fresh air rushed in through a broken pipe. Rian dropped to the ground, gasping. The air was still heavy, but he could breathe again. Gerak roared once more, breaking the last chain. He stood tall, wings stretched wide, damaged but strong. The dragon looked at Rian, and Rian, despite the fear and pain, smiled. "You're free," he said, voice hoarse. "Now let's break out of this place." In the control room, alarms were ringing. Lights flashed. Officers shouted, "Chain systems are offline. He's loose. The beast is loose." General Sarn raised a hand. "Seal the lower levels." Another officer cried, "He's not alone. The human survived the gas." Sarn stared at the screen as the camera showed smoke and broken chains. "A healer," he muttered. "That's all he was. And now the dragon follows him." He turned away from the screen. "Prepare the strike teams." In the broken cell, Rian climbed onto Gerak's back. He had never ridden anything like this before, but the dragon lowered himself gently, waiting. "Are you ready?" Rian asked. Gerak gave a deep, rumbling sound. His wings, though damaged, began to spread. He flexed them once, twice, and then leapt toward the broken wall. With a loud crash, they burst through metal and fire. For the first time in years, Gerak tasted freedom. And riding on his back, the human healer held tight, not as a master, not as a rider, but as a friend. The wind rushed past Rian's face as Gerak flew through the night sky. Though the dragon's wings were damaged, they still held strong. Fire and smoke rose from the Kolgar base behind them. Sirens wailed. Lights flashed across the sky. But Rian didn't look back. He held tightly to Gerak's scales as the dragon soared higher. "We made it," Rian whispered, still breathless. "We actually got out." Gerak let out a deep, powerful roar that echoed across the dark sky. It was not a sound of pain or anger. It was freedom. Below them, the rocky ground stretched for miles. Mountains rose like jagged teeth, and rivers of glowing energy cut through the land. The stars above were sharp and clear. Rian had never seen a sky like this before. The dragon began to slow down, gliding lower toward a rocky plateau. Gently, Gerak landed, careful not to hurt his injured wing. Rian slid down and landed on his feet. His legs were sore, and his hands still shook, but he smiled. "You did great." Gerak lowered his head and looked at him closely. In that moment, Rian saw something he never thought he would: gratitude. The dragon nudged him gently with his snout. Rian laughed softly. "You're welcome." Meanwhile, back at the Kolgar base, the control room was full of noise and panic. "The dragon has escaped. Enemy craft destroyed. We've lost visual." General Sarn stood in the middle of the chaos, silent and furious. His sharp eyes followed every report. "He flew south," one officer said. "Toward the mountains. Send the hunter ships," Sarn ordered. All of them. I want that creature brought down. And the human too. Another officer spoke carefully. General, if I may. Killing the dragon is possible. But the human, he didn't fight. He didn't even carry a weapon. Sarn turned, voice low and sharp. That's exactly why he's dangerous. He changed the creature without force. He made it loyal. That kind of power, emotional power, is what terrifies me. The officers went quiet. Sarn stepped forward. We built weapons to break spirits. But humans, they heal. They bond. They make allies of enemies. If this spreads, if others see what he did. He didn't finish the sentence. He didn't need to. Everyone in the room understood. The human medic was now a threat to the Kolgar Empire. Rian sat on a flat rock while Gerak rested beside him. The dragon's chest rose and fell slowly. His wounds were better now, but not gone. He needed more time to recover. So did Rian. Rian pulled out the small device he had made in the cell, a signal transmitter. It was weak, but if he could boost it, maybe someone would hear him. I need metal, he muttered. Energy, maybe even crystals from the ground. Gerak raised his head slightly and made a soft growl. Then he looked toward the nearby hills. You saw something? Rian asked. The dragon slowly stood and began walking toward a slope. Rian followed him. After a short climb, they reached a small cave. Inside, the walls sparkled with strange glowing stones. Rian's eyes widened. Perfect. He gathered pieces quickly and worked through the night, using wire, crystal, and broken parts from his old medical scanner to boost the signal. Gerak watched him with calm, glowing eyes. After hours of work, Rian finished the device. He turned it on, and a small light blinked. A weak signal pulsed through the air. It's not much, he said, but someone might hear it. He sat back, exhausted. Gerak walked to him and curled up nearby. The dragon's warmth filled the cave, and Rian leaned against him, eyes slowly closing. You're not a beast, Rian whispered. You're not a weapon. He placed his hand on the dragon's scales. You're my friend. Gerak let out a quiet, peaceful sound. A few hours later, the sound of engines roared in the sky. Kolgar hunter ships arrived, flying low over the mountains. They scanned the area with bright beams of light. Inside one of the ships, a commander pointed at the tracker. Signal found. Cave below. The lead pilot nodded. Prepare to fire. But just as they locked on, something hit them. A beam of bright blue light shot from the cave entrance, striking the lead ship's wing. It exploded. In the sky, Gerak had awakened. The dragon leapt from the cave, wings spread wide. He roared with fury, the sound shaking the sky. The ship circled, but Gerak moved like lightning, fire glowing inside his throat. Rian stood outside the cave, shielding his eyes from the smoke and wind. He didn't run. He didn't hide. He trusted Gerak. The dragon flew straight into the cave. Battle, dodging blasts, striking ships with his claws and tail. One by one, the hunter ships fell from the sky. The last ship turned and retreated. Gerak landed beside Rian, breathing hard. His wing was bleeding again, but his eyes burned with fire. Rian ran to him. You're hurt again, but you saved me. He quickly pulled out bandages from his pack. As he treated the wound, he spoke gently. They'll keep coming. But I won't leave you. Not now. Not ever. Gerak stared at him, eyes glowing brighter than ever. In that moment, something passed. Between them, a deep bond, unbreakable. They were no longer just a dragon and a human. They were something more. They were hope. The cave was quiet again. Smoke from the broken hunter ship still floated in the sky. But the danger had passed for now. Gerak rested at the mouth of the cave, his chest rising and falling. His eyes remained open, watching the sky in case the enemy returned. Rian sat beside him, tired but focused. His hands worked quickly as he replaced old bandages with clean ones, made from his own shirt. He had learned to make do with whatever he had. In war, there was never enough. "You saved me again," Rian said softly. "You didn't have to fight." "But you did." Jarek let out a deep, slow breath. His tail curled around Rian slightly, like a shield. Rian looked at the small communicator he had built. It was still blinking, still sending a signal into space. He didn't know if anyone was listening, but it was the only hope he had left to contact the outside world. Suddenly, the communicator blinked twice, then turned green. Rian's heart jumped. Someone had received the signal. He tapped the button and spoke quickly. "This is Rian, human medic. I've escaped a Kulgur base with an unknown life form. We need help." "Repeat, we need help." The device crackled. A calm voice responded. "This is Commander Yara of the Freestar Alliance. We received your signal. Tracking coordinates now." Rian smiled with relief. "Please hurry, they'll come back." "We're on our way." Far above, in the blackness of space, the Freestar Alliance ship Hopebringer changed course. It was not a military warship, but it carried soldiers, medics, and scientists, people who believed in peace and freedom, not conquest. Commander Yara looked at her crew. "Set a landing path. And prepare for medical care. That man is not alone." Back in the mountains, the Kulgur were preparing their final move. General Sarn stood inside a dark war room. Around him, officers waited. On the table was a glowing map showing the dragon's location. "We lost too many ships," one officer said. "We should let it go." Sarn slammed his fist on the table. "No, we end this now." He tapped the screen. A new image appeared. A black device with red markings. "Deploy the void bomb. We will destroy the entire region. I want nothing left." "But General," the officer replied nervously, "that mountain range holds old tech, ancient ruins. If we destroy it, I don't care," Sarn growled. "I will not let a human and a beast make fools of the Kulgur Empire." Jarek raised his head. His ears twitched. A strange hum filled the air. Deep, distant, but coming closer. Rian noticed it too. "What's that sound?" Suddenly the ground began to shake. Birds flew from the trees. The sky darkened. A red light blinked far in the distance, growing bigger. Brighter dot than Rian saw it. A giant black device falling from the sky like a meteor. It hit the earth with a loud crash, and the ground cracked. The mountain behind them began to split. Jarek growled. His wings opened slightly. Rian's communicator buzzed again. "Rian, this is Yara," came the voice. "We're close, but the Kulgur dropped a void bomb. You must leave that area now. It will destroy everything within 5 miles. Rian turned to Jarek. "We have to move, now," Jarek roared, stretching his wings. One was still hurt, but he pushed through the pain. Rian climbed onto his back. "Let's go, my friend." With a powerful leap, Jarek launched into the air. Rocks fell behind them. The ground split open, swallowing trees and stone. The red light grew brighter behind them as the bomb powered up. Jarek flew as fast as he could, flapping hard, ignoring the pain in his wing. Rian held tight. The wind hit his face. The sky was shaking. Then he saw a ship in the clouds. Silver, shining, with the symbol of the Freestar Alliance on its side. The ship opened its lower bay. Lights guided the dragon in. Jarek flew straight into the hold and landed hard. Rian fell onto the floor, coughing, but alive. The doors closed. Just as the mountain behind them exploded in a wave of fire and smoke. The ship rocked but held strong. They were safe. Inside the ship, medics ran to Rian. Commander Yara, a tall woman with short dark hair, helped him up. "You're lucky we got your signal," she said. "Who is your companion?" Rian looked at Jarek, who was resting now, eyes half closed. "He's not a monster," Rian said. "His name is Jarek. He's the last of his kind." Yara nodded. "Then we'll protect him." Medics moved forward to help, but but Rian raised a hand. Let me stay with him. He only trusts me. Yara gave a small smile. You've formed a bond. That's rare. Rian looked at Jirak. It saved both of us. Far away, General Sarn watched the explosion from a high satellite view. Did it hit? Yes, General. The entire mountain is gone. Sarn nodded. Good, let the galaxy know. Kolgar answers betrayal with fire. But deep inside, he felt uneasy, because rumors were already spreading whispers of a human who healed a dragon, and a beast who chose peace over war, and Sarn knew. Some bonds can't be broken by bombs. The ship Hopebringer moved quietly through space, far from the Kolgar-controlled zones. Inside, Rian stood beside Jirak in the medical bay. The dragon's chest moved slowly, resting, recovering. His wounds were better now. His breathing was calm, peaceful. The room had been specially changed to fit Jirak's size. Warm lights filled the space. The floor had been reinforced. Still, the dragon chose to stay close to Rian, who now wore a new clean coat, not the white coat of a Union medic, but one with the blue symbol of the Free Star Alliance. Rian adjusted the final bandage and gently placed his hand on Jirak's shoulder. We're safe, for now. Jirak opened one golden eye and rumbled softly. Rian smiled. I know, you don't trust safety. Not yet, but we'll build a world where you can. Commander Yara entered the room quietly. The Council has asked for you, Rian. They want to speak to you and see him. Rian stood. I understand. But they must understand too, he's not a weapon. Not anymore. Yara gave a short nod. That's why they're calling it a meeting, not an order. A short time later, Rian walked into the main chamber of the Hopebringer. The ship's council, made of leaders from different planets and species, stood in a circle. Screens floated in the air, showing images from the escaped Jirak breaking chains, fighting off Kolgar ships and flying through fire. You're the human medic who changed a war beast. One council member said. I didn't change him, Rian replied calmly. I helped him remember who he was. Another member leaned forward. You healed him, made him loyal. Others will say you turned him into a weapon for the Alliance. Rian looked each of them in the eyes. No, I turned him into a friend. Silence followed. Then Yara stepped forward. Jirak fought not for power, not for a flag. He fought for Rian. He fought to protect someone who showed kindness when the rest of the galaxy only offered chains. The oldest member of the council, a tall gray-skinned woman, finally spoke. What do you suggest, Rian? Rian's voice was steady. Let him rest. Let him choose his path. Don't use him. Don't fear him. Just treat him as what he truly is, an intelligent being who has suffered enough. The council looked at one another. Then the elder nodded. Very well. The Alliance will not use him, nor will we hide what happened. The galaxy must know the truth. News spread fast. On distant planets, people heard the story. A human medic. A dragon once feared by all. A bond that broke chains. Some believed it. Some didn't. But everyone knew the name. Rian, the healer of beasts. Kolgar leaders tried to twist the story. They said it was a trick, a lie made by humans. But their own soldiers had seen the truth. Some even began to question the war. Across the stars, other prisoners remembered Rian's name. They began to believe in something new. That strength didn't come from force, it came from connection. In a quiet hangar bay, Jirak stretched his wings for the first time without pain. The scars were still there, but they no longer bled. Rian sat on a crate nearby, repairing his medical scanner. You're famous now, he said, looking up at the dragon. People are talking about you, about us. Jirak blinked slowly. You changed the way some see humans, Rian continued. Not just as fighters or builders, but as healers. The dragon walked over and sat down beside him. The ground trembled gently under his weight. We have a choice now, Rian said. We can disappear and live in peace. Or we can help others. Together. Jarak made a low, thoughtful sound. At that moment, the ship's alarm lights flashed. Commander Yara's voice came through the intercom. Rian, we've received a distress signal. A transport ship under attack. Kolgar pirates. Rian stood up. Do they need medical help? Yes, many injured. Some trapped. He looked at Jarak. I want to go. The dragon gave a quiet rumble, then stood tall and ready. Rian smiled. Together then. The Hope Bringer arrived near a small moon where the damaged transport ship floated helplessly. Fires burned along its side. Escape pods were gone. Kolgar pirate ships circled like vultures. Jarak flew out of the bay with Rian on his back. The sight of the dragon caused instant fear. The pirates panicked. Some tried to flee. Others fired weapons, but Jarak dodged with smooth, powerful moves. Rian dropped onto the damaged ship through a broken hatch and quickly began helping the wounded. His hands moved fast, stopping bleeding, calming cries, bandaging wounds. Jarak circled above, roaring loudly to drive the pirates away. He didn't kill. He didn't destroy. He simply protected. When the job was done, Rian climbed back on his friend's back, and they returned to the Hope Bringer. Later, one of the rescued crew members said, "A human medic riding a dragon came. Out of nowhere. I thought I was dreaming." Another replied, "No, that's Rian. They say even monsters follow him." But those who truly knew him said something different. He doesn't tame monsters. He reminds them they were never monsters at all. Somewhere deep in Kolgar space. General Sarn watched the footage with a hard face. They turned our greatest weapon into a legend. He muttered. An officer nearby whispered, "The people are starting to believe in him." Sarn's eyes burned with anger. Then make them afraid. Spread fear. Show that this dragon and human are not heroes. But even as he spoke, he knew it was too late. The galaxy had already chosen what to believe. And in the stars, stories grew stronger than fear.